Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll start shortly. Please take your seat and order your drinks and stuff. So I would like to welcome all of you here to a special evening titled The Future of Thailand, Perspective from Leaders of Different Generations. We're trying a little bit something slightly different for the FCCT for this particular event, as this is more about vision rather than current affairs. So in my industry, the news industry, this is more like an op-ed rather than an analysis or discussions of the currents happening around the country and the world. I want our panelists and all of you, our audiences, to think broadly about Thailand, this lovely country, what we have been through, and where we are going. I want to tap into the expertise and views from all three distinguished panelists here and ask them, firstly, what they see as their vision for Thailand's future and how they see us getting there, and what are some of the challenges. This panel is a result of a cooperation between the FCCT and Bitkub, and I think it is quite timely that we get something like this, as Thailand faces many storms and turbulence over the years, and it appears that at times there are multiple directions for the country, and sometimes no direction at all. So I think it's timely, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to hear from our three distinguished panelists about this and see how they dissect the situation, share their vision through their wealth of experience. So we have, of course, to my right, Kun Top Jirayut Sapsisopa, CEO of Bitkub. Next to him, of course, with the need for introduction, former Prime Minister Abhisit Sirikanya, and on the far right, Kun Sirikanya, Member of Parliament for the People's Party, who was here with us last week. So welcome all of you. I will go first to Kun Top, since the event is sort of your brainchild as well. So maybe share with us briefly what you see in terms of vision for Thailand's future.
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank FCCT for hosting this event, and thank you so much for all of you for attending this tonight's session. It is such a vibrant environment. I love it, and it is my honor to be sharing the stage with Abhisit and Pimai. As I'm the youngest panelist here, I get to go first. As part of I'm one of the fortunate few members from Thailand who get to go to Davos over the past 3 years. And having attended Davos for 3 years already, I have a few insights I would like to share, and I hope to see Thailand going forward with these. I have five steps that I hope Thailand would take going forward. The first step for our country, for Thailand, would be to have a strong foundation. As Premier Lee Sieng has been saying in his Chinese quote, is that for the tree to be strong, the root has to be strong, right? The foundation has to be strong. That means for our country, we really need to solve this debt to GDP ratio for the short term. We're now at almost, I think, 93% to GDP ratio, the highest ever in history. Second of all, we need to really gain back confidence on the Thai stock exchange. We have to really master the ESG philosophy. Right now, we have problems with the G, the governance issue. A lot of foreign investors lost confidence in Thai publicly listed companies, and we really need to bring back the liquidity back to our country. And we also really need to master the E, the environment, within 6 years to meet these net zero initiatives. Otherwise, again, we're going to face another liquidity outflow in the next 6 years. We also need to train new generations of workforce to make sure that they take the right courses. For example, Vietnam, they are able to train at least 500,000 new graduates from science and technology school, which is what we need. in terms of skills-wise of where the world is heading. In Thailand, we're currently able to train roughly about 10,000 to 20,000 students per year on science and technology, which is about 50 times less than what Vietnam is able to do. So we need to strengthen the foundation in the short term. We need to educate and upskill, reskill our workforce. We need to fix the short-term household debt issue. We need to bring back the confidence on the Thai stock exchange. And once we have a strong foundation, I have 4 additional steps going forward. The first step is digital. Right now, the Thai GDP relies heavily on physical trade. We are exporting rice. We are relying on tangible products, right? Something tangible. Exporting of rice, exporting of rubber, exporting of automobiles parts. These are physical trades. But if you look at advanced economies like China, right? 44% of its GDP comes from digital economy already, right? They're talking about digital trade now instead of physical trade. They're talking about service trade now. They're talking about digital service trade now, which AI is going to accelerate, right? Digital service trade. And green trade, right? Green trade grew 300% last year, 3 times last year. And for these new activities or new types of GDP for our country, they are yet to exist. Right? We are still heavily relying on physical trade as a country. And that is why we're stuck on this middle income trap, because there's no premium left in the physical trade world. It's all about price cutting. We're engaging in red ocean competition. We really need to invest in science and technology revolution. Right? We need to invest in AI, big data, blockchain, 3D printing, IoT devices, internet from the sky, AR, VR, MR technology, longevity. These are the new frontier technology that would give us new premium. We need to engage in the blue ocean competition instead of the red ocean competition. And the Ministry of Digital Economy should be of grade A. Right? Should be leading this important change. The second step, apart from having a strong foundation, is to have the green initiatives. Right? Green trade grew 300% last year, right? And by 2029, 2030, there'll be CBAM coming out, carbon pricing, carbon tax coming out. The new rules of the game is coming out. We need to have our private sectors adapt very quickly, and we need to strengthen our private sector so that they can still compete or still have the license to operate. Right? Without the green initiatives, many of the private companies here will no longer have the license to operate within the next 6 years. They will not be able to export. Right? They will not be able to take out loans from the banks. Even the biggest funds of the world, like BlackRock, they will not be able to invest in publicly listed companies. Right? There'll be punishments coming out very soon. So we need to really equip our private sectors and state companies to adjust to this new rules of the game, the green transition. And the third step is that it's to create an open environment, ease of doing business, right? Better rules of law in order to attract foreign investment into our country. ASEAN is entering its golden era in the next decade. Right? Everyone is eyeing ASEAN right now, but how do we make Thailand more competitive compared to other neighboring countries? We need to really make sure that we are at the forefront, competitive in terms of ease of doing business, and rules of law has to be great. Right? And we should not really have our free zone competing for the red ocean stuff. For example, I don't agree on having Thailand to be the next financial center of the world. It's 50 years too late. Hong Kong and Singapore already did that, and there's no way that Thailand is able to compete with Saudi Arabia with all the money, all the wealth that they have. That we can never migrate Goldman Sachs here, right? So instead, we should focus on the blue ocean or the next opportunity for the next hubs, like network state, right? Where in the future there will be an emerging of digital sovereignty, and each network state digital community, right? They would need a physical land related to each of the network state. And Thailand should really not compete on the red ocean stuff, but really go and fetch all these blue ocean opportunities into our free zones. And lastly, inclusive. Right? The world is changing very fast. We should talk about silver economy. We should talk about aging economy. We should not leave anyone behind. Right? AI is changing very fast. There will be, I think, in the next 5 years, 44%, almost half of our skill sets would become obsolete. Right? How do we reskill, upskill our workforce? How do we not leave anyone behind? We have to talk about creative economy. We have to talk about silver economy. We have to talk about digital economy. So these are my 5 steps, 5 suggestions for Thailand going forward. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Captain Top. Well, very interesting. And we will revisit soon, but I'll let others speak as well. So I think up next, I want to go to Kun Mai Sirikanya about her vision of Thailand as an active politician.
Thank you, and thank you FCCT for having me today. It's my pleasure to be here again in less than 1 week. A lot of you were here, and I'm with my party leader to give an introduction to People's Party. And for today, it's maybe another hat of mine that I am an active politician who is really keen and work closely about the economy, right? So my vision for Thailand, future economy will be focused on how we can can foster the economic growth with and also to make sure that it's inclusive growth. So basically, I totally agree with what Kun Top has said, that we dire need the new engine of growth because the old engine are already obsolete. We used to have these 3 key major exporting sectors like ICE cars, electronics, hard disk drive, and petrochemicals, and these stuffs are in the sunset industries already. And of course, we want to skip to something really complicated, high technology, just like what Kun Top has mentioned. But how we're going to transit to that position? It will need a lot of hard work and political will just to get there. We just learned recently that even it seems to be easy transit from ICE cars to EV cars, not that easy. And we face the challenges that we couldn't upskill and reskill people, factory workers that used to be in the IC cars industry, and make them be able or capable to work in the EV cars anymore. The parts in EV cars has reduced like 90% from 10,000 parts to just a few thousand parts, and totally different. Thai workers are really expertise in the mechanic and stuff, but electronic stuff is totally different things. So we have this bottleneck of trying to upskill and reskill. So it's something that we have to have very neat plan to transit and make sure that it's a just transition as well. So what I'm trying to make use of what is the mega trends of the world. For example, Kun Top said about the sustainability, right? So green growth is something that it's not optional, but it's a necessity for our growth. It's not only to deal with the regulations so that we can export to the destination countries that has those laws and regulations about the carbon emissions and stuffs, but we have to have clear vision, clear plan in order that we can foster growth from the green sectors. I'm not talking about that Thailand should become the renewable energy generation base only, is what the government has said. But I'm thinking about if we want to go to the renewable energy sector, we might have the opportunity to do something in very upstream industry. For example, the power semiconductor will be the, will be the essential elements in every single tools and equipments that will have to use with those renewable energy. For example, the inverter, the regulator, all of that, we have to have this powerful power semiconductors, and that's something that we don't really have, major players in the world yet. We have good news that PTT has just announced a joint venture with HANA industry to have this new factories that will produce the silicon carbide semiconductor in Lamphun, in the high-tech industrial park. That's one step forward that we can, reap the benefits that all countries in the world want to go green, so they have to use this kind of equipments and tools that composed of this the powerful power semiconductor chip, for example. That's what we see, that our future of economy has relied heavily on this green growth. But we have to think about how to, of course we want to attract foreign direct investments and stuff like that to get the benefit of those advanced technology. But right now, all the tools that we have to attract the new investors are just, the same old tax holidays. We started to give some grants and subsidies, but it will take very, very long process just to approve for one project. For example, this PTT and HANA joint venture, it took them almost 3 years just to get the approval of grants from Board of Investment in Thailand. So it's something that we wish that we could achieve, but we don't know yet that when we're gonna have this opportunity. But the last thing that I want to emphasize is about the inclusivity. Every time we talk about growth, it's something that people will think that we have to trade off with, between growth and redistribution, or we have to trade off between the, growth-driven mega projects with those micro projects that will increase the quality of life of the people. So we now have these projects within our party that we're gonna launch this policy that we will translate the needs to quality of life improvement of the people of Thailand into growth engine. For example, those basic fundamental needs of people: clean air, potable water, green spaces, smart cities. Those can be translated into jobs creation and new businesses, new industries. Only if we gonna do it with the strategic procurement, to use the government spending and direct it to those, micro projects that will in one way will improve the quality of people's life. For example, all the sensors that will detect the PM 2.5, or the smart meter for those tap water, smart meter for the electricity, for the next smart grid technology to come. So we need this kind of equipments that have the element of those chips design and those technology with the IoT thing. That we can create the new jobs as system integrators, the new jobs of those who produce the chips and printed circuit boards that specifically designed for these the cities, or for these both for the procurement of both general government and the local governments. And that's, I think, is the way that we can make the growth more inclusive. And the things that we want to improve the quality of life of the people is not something that is totally irrelevant to foster the economic growth. So for this first round, I will sum up that for the new growth that we want to see for Thailand, we need the new engine of growth that to replace all obsolete sectors. And we will go for green growth that will reap the benefits that all the countries in the world will go green, and we then need all the equipments to deal with that. And the last one, we want to make sure that local people can all get the fair share of this economic development by make sure that every time that we think about the project to improve the quality of life, that means that we can create a new industry and jobs creation in the entire economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Khun Mai. Lastly, we go to our, I guess, elder statesman in the panel, former Prime Minister Abhisit. Please share your vision.
Well, it's good to be back. I recall it must have been almost 30 years ago when I was first here. But as the saying goes, I was the future once. And I guess I'm here to play the role of a grumpy old man. But I should start by saying that there's very little to disagree with from the previous speakers. I think all Thais have this aspiration that we have a competitive economy, one that moves up the ladder of value chain, technology, sustainability, and of course inclusive growth. So I thought what I would do is perhaps focus on the perspective of someone who's been through 30 years in public service, to first of all, I guess, remind ourselves that there are some fundamental strengths that we should not forget that Thailand has. And I think this will go well with what Khun Top was saying about the need to build on foundations. After all, Thailand has always enjoyed being what we feel is geographically at the center of mainland ASEAN, a resilient and a dynamic region economically. We have always prided ourselves of having food security. We have, through the years, built quite a strong industrial base, particularly in electronics and vehicles. And of course, tourism and many aspects of the creative economy have also played a significant part. But having said that, I recall that when I left office as Prime Minister back in 2011, that was the year that Thailand became an upper middle income country. We're still here, we're still there. And it doesn't look like we can get to becoming an upper, a high income country soon. And so there's this question as to what's gone wrong. And again, apart from the strengths that I've mentioned, I mean, Thailand has been a diverse economy, not just in the sense of the structure of the economy, but also our markets are diverse. So, you know, we trade with ASEAN, China, Europe, and the US in almost equal proportions. We have always been able to find a balance in terms of international relations, always balancing ourselves, not being forced to pick sides, and we're friends with the major powers of the world. But I think what has gone wrong, if the last maybe decade and a half, we appear to have been stuck, is due to 4 factors. First of all, Thailand is a very open economy. So when there was that tailwind of globalization, we were able to reap the benefits, and the private sector in particular were able to seek out opportunities. As you know, the last decade and a half, globalization has been in recession. And I think that partly explains why our growth rate has clearly dropped below the historical averages. Secondly, as you heard from the other 2 panelists, technological advance and the need for sustainable growth have meant that there are fresh challenges, which for a number of reasons we have in a way struggled to keep up with the pace of change. And I noticed that the 2 panelists have not touched on the politics. But that clearly is a major factor over the last decade and a half as well, why we have not been able to move forward the way we want to do. And apart from that, it is worth noting that we face 2 other challenges. First is that we have become old. So we've aged as a society very quickly. I'm part of the problem. Many of you are too. And also that the problem of inequality has, like in many places in the world, worsened. And so while I share the wishes and the visions of the 2 panelists being older, I'm also a bit anxious about these new trends. Because economically speaking, what technology is doing is actually changing the structure of the way economies grow. In particular, the network effect and the returns to scale have meant it's a lot more difficult to have a fairer distribution of economic benefits. And unless some of the rules change, this is going to be a challenge not just for Thailand, but the rest of the world. You know, you can have all the things that you wish for, and yet you might find that the majority of your population is not actually benefiting, or actually worse, may feel that they are falling behind. So what do we need to do? Well, first of all, I think our agricultural sector almost needs a second green revolution. And I use the word green in both senses of the word, sustainable and also the need to increase efficiency. Clearly, we cannot go on doing the way we do things in the agricultural sector. It's fallen far behind. The 2 panelists talked about how we need to upgrade our industries and also tap into more creativity and open up our services sector more to provide engines of growth. And to do that, for me, I think there are 2 things that clearly need to be done. The first, again, already mentioned, the issue of reskilling and upskilling people, and constantly doing that to keep up with the changes. And the second, of course, is that it is time that we really revamp our laws and regulations. I think these 2 factors, if we get it right, will be the most powerful forces to attract investment rather than the same old tools that Sirikanya talked about. And as for the social aspects, the distribution, the aging society, it's also clear that not just many of our people will be old and do not have enough savings, but even the younger generations will face a much more volatile world. So everybody has an interest to have a good welfare system to guarantee some kind of security for their lives. The problem is, if we like to have a welfare system that is comparable to, say, the European countries, they collect about 40% of their GDP in taxes we at the moment are only collecting 15%. And that is probably the biggest challenge, that we need to revamp the tax system so that we can actually afford a welfare system that will allow this inclusive growth to take place. Now, all this is going to come back to the politics. Okay? When things were good, as I said, when we had a tailwind of globalization, when our private sectors were able to seek out opportunities, the only request I had as a politician is just don't get in the way. But given the challenges that we are now facing and the essence of structural changes require an active policy formulation and an active, proactive role of the state, it's no longer enough to just not get in the way. But the politics needs to create the environment that will be conducive to attain these visions. And for me, just 4 or 5 fixes to our political system. The first is that we have to make our politicians more outward looking, especially with the geopolitical challenges. It has always amazed me that we are a very open economy, and yet most of our political dialogue is very much conducted at a local level, sometimes not even national. So there is need to be more outward looking, to be more proactive. I think many of you will have maybe even criticized Thailand in recent years for almost falling off the radar in terms of what we can do and contribute to the global economy and also to the global community. Second thing is the politics needs to be less myopic. You know, the things that we talked about for the last 20 minutes are hardly getting any spaces in the media. It's still about, you know, when we're going to get our 10,000 baht, when we're going to get the 400 baht minimum wage. So it needs to be less myopic and also become more ideological and systematic, if you like. It's no longer about competing on projects or policies, but competing on visions and a consistent vision as to how we move the country forward. It needs, of course, to be less polarizing. And in fact, I thought one of the motivations for this panel was that there is clearly now this anxiety about the gaps between the generations, except that you know, all of us here are like-minded in being young, so you're not getting that on the panel. But it's important, and also the politics needs to deal with the issue of transparency, trust, and getting rid of corruption. All of which, I know you're all thinking, you know, you were there for 30 years. Shouldn't this all be done? But my concern now is that we are not even starting to move it in that direction. And my hope is that there would somehow be space for dialogue, not just between different parties, but across generations, to agree that perhaps if we write yet another constitution that reflects the challenges and the visions that we all want to attain, it would be a process that I think would then raise the awareness of the public, and if we can make it constructive and less polarizing, might be a very good springboard for the fundamental change that we need. So, you know, I'm hoping that there is going to be that space provided somehow. I hope the public will be much more demanding of this space, and that we get some response from those in power. And if that is the case, I still have every confidence in the country, in our people. I think we've proved in history, throughout history, that we are good at adapting, that we are creative, that we are open to changes and ideas from around the world. And if we can retain that and have this opportunity, well, then the future that these young people are hoping to see can become a reality. I'll be gone by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Kakun Abhisit. Before, I'm going to give all our three panelists basically 5 minutes each to kind of respond or reflect on what the other two panelists have spoken about. I mean, for Kun Top, I'll go with you first since you've started. I think you've laid out a very sort of comprehensive vision about sort of the next curve, looking at where Thailand should be aiming for rather than what we're doing, kind of sort of staying still and so on and so forth. After hearing the two kind of, I guess, politician point of view, I mean, what are your thoughts, and maybe you can zero in on some of your points, like how some of these transition, how would it actually transpire from your point of view? Because you've seen all this digital economy stuff happening, you've seen all the sustainable stuff happening in other places around the world, right? But in the Thai context, I mean, how? Please.
I agree with Kun Abhisit that our current politics is very local and domestic. For example, I have been attending this World Economic Forum for 3 years now, and I haven't really seen our leaders attending. We have not really been communicating to the rest of the world. I think the last Prime Minister that attended Davos was Kun Yingluck, and then we had a decade of zero communication. There's no other leaders from Thailand attended. Even in this year in Thailand, Summer Davos, there was zero head of states, head of government, no ministers, nobody attended the Summer Davos from Thailand. Versus Vietnam, the Prime Minister attended both winter and summer Davos, and he brought the whole cabinet of ministers, doing all the deals with all the leaders, seeing the vision of where the world is heading. As I'm a business person, right? Before I do company's corporate strategy, I really need to understand where the world is heading. Right? I think for the country it's the same thing. Right? Before before we can craft out a roadmap of where the country should be heading towards or what the country should be doing, we really need to understand worldviews first. Our leaders, our politicians really need to understand where the world is heading so that they can create the right strategy going forward. And apart from connecting to the world more and having a more global worldviews instead of domestic issues, I think we need to also partner up with our neighbors, because ASEAN is entering its golden era, right? There will be an unprecedented amount of investment entering the region, and there's this legally binding agreements taking place next year called DEFA, right? DEFA, Digital Economy Framework Agreements, happening next year. And in other words, ASEAN is becoming one ASEAN strong. Right? There will be free flow of people, mobility of talents in this agreement. There will be regional payment integration happening within the 10 ASEAN countries, integrating regional payments together. And there will be ASEAN single window, mobility of goods and services, free flow of goods and services. And they are estimating that, for example, this year, within this DEFA agreement, 50% of the overall agreement has been agreed already. And next year, we'll get up to roughly 60% of the agreement. And within just, people have been estimating that even though with just 60% of the DEFA agreement taking place, it would be attractive enough to at least trigger $2 trillion into the region, right? 2% of global GDP. And Indonesia is expected to grow 1.5 times with this agreement taking place, 150%. LDC, least developed countries like Laos, Myanmar, Cambodia, they're expected to grow 3 to 5 times, right? When ASEAN comes together as one region. Right? Say if Thailand, because the base is smaller, right? So they can grow faster because of the smaller base. Say Thailand is caught between LDC and Indonesia, we could grow at least 200% when this agreement is signed. So my second point is that our country needs to work as one, together with our neighboring countries. Right? Globalization is really a thing of the past. We are not really moving towards globalization. We are moving towards regionalization. Right? And we need to make friends to make sure that we have a collective voice coming out of ASEAN, right? On a global stage. And we can demand, we can create this self-policing mechanism instead of staying alone as one small state going forward. So just 2 quick points to add, really. The first point is I completely agree with Kun Abhisit that our politics is very domestic, local. We have cut out our communication from the rest of the world for almost a decade, more than a decade now. We need to really join and talk to the global leaders and bring in investment into the country more and really understand where the world is heading, right? Understand the world views before we create a strategy for the country. The second point is to partner up as one ASEAN strong. Right? We can't do this alone anymore. Right? There's this word called PPP appearing everywhere now, public and private partnership. All of these global major issues, private companies cannot achieve things alone anymore. The government cannot solve issues alone anymore. Right? We need partnership. Right? So my 2 quick points. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Top. Kun Mai, I think I'll go to you. I think many things come out from all 3 of you. One of the things that you mentioned towards the end, the inclusivity, the idea that you mentioned is interesting, but it's kind of similar to decentralization that has been talked about for a long time and difficult to achieve in a state like Thailand. I also want you to reflect on the other speakers, but also in that particular issue, how would you achieve that, right? Because I think everyone tried somehow to decentralize Thailand, but it's still stuck in a very centralized Bangkok-based state, isn't it, in some ways?
Really? There's somebody has tried?
Well,
I doubt that. I doubt that. I think we lack totally of political will to decentralize. Basically, it's just, try to reduce the power that concentrated in Bangkok, right? And, to give away that power to the local government so they can self-govern. So it's something that it's, the motivation is totally conflicted for the politicians. But, so I think we gotta, pursue this to advocate for decentralization, not just the power, but the budget and everything to make sure that this pathway to inclusive growth is going to happen. That will be one of the elements of the first thing that I think we should do, the state reform. The state reform is not just, digitalized government services, streamlining, but it's something that that is more worrisome. For example, like the governance, the corruption, or the inefficient of this bureaucratic system that need to revamp immediately. I mean, it's it should be done like a year ago. Of course, this current administration, they kind of have this legacy that they were champion of state reform 20 years back. But so far, 1 year, we haven't seen anything much going on. But we still have high hope. One of the jobs of ours as the opposition is try to change the perspective of the government to agree upon the same goal. We can, have different opinions on the means, but we should have the same goals that we want to see in the future. And so we kind of have these dialogues or debates with the government, And we think so far, we kind of persuade them to see the same view. I've said like last week that in the current administration government policy statement, it's the first time that they said something about structural transformation. That is, our signature that's a level on my forehead that we talk about the structural transformation. So, little by little, we try to shape their view on this. Talking about worldview, I think, even though we are not physically out there, maybe because we don't afford the airfare, because we're kind of poor politicians, but we can study or learn from looking outward. You guys talking about the globalization, we are not globalization, now we regionalization, come on. Looking outward right now, protectionism is a new trend. In news on the paper, they said that they're gonna have those tariff barriers for the imported goods. After COVID, everyone is reshoring to their countries. And this thing, I think it's a new trend of the world, and we have to adopt that as well. Partly, the vision that I shared, it's something that would call strategic industrial policy, that we want to nurture local industries to replace the old engine of growth. So this is how we see the world changing, and we don't press, to leverage the free trade and globalization at the same, just like the old days anymore, because it's already passed. And the second thing, it's the fiscal reform that I want to say about this. Of course, the politics has to be less myopic, just like Kun Abhisit said. It's something very oxymoron. Politicians and long-sighted is something that it's very difficult to make them think more than 4 years, right? Because what we can do, what to do, what must be done, but we just don't know whether after we have done it, will we be re-elected again, right? So it's something that I think the people, the voters, has to voice out, that they need the government to be more long-sighted, less myopic, focus more on the long-term issues, and something that is, fairly as urgent as immediate challenges like the economy, the cost of living burden, and stuff like that. It's the heart of the problem of the economy, just like Kun Abhisit said, is about the upskilling and reskilling that we long for, but we haven't seen this as much. And the fiscal reforms will help us to redirect our public funds into something that it's more profitable, or that those sectors that's gonna generate the long-term value for the economy. And of course, I think Move Forward Party, my former party, it's the only party that pledging about tax raises, to tax more on the wealthy, and to tax more on these assets that we haven't have that much, and to reform the land tax as we already have, but it doesn't really function well. So it takes courage and it takes bravery to campaign about something that we know for sure that we're gonna lose some of our popularity. But we've got to be sincere and to keep our integrity about this, that we want something to change. We have to be brave enough to say so, and make the people to agree upon us. So Well, I think that will be, my reactions to what the other panelists have said.
Kun Abhisit Kap, of course you go last. Your thoughts on the other two? I think one of the point that you made about proactive role of the state. I mean, I think that's quite interesting. But knowing the Thai state, you inject a sense of realism already. But knowing the way that the bureaucracy operates, this is something that you've been working since the 90s, right? Reforming the bureaucracy and all that. I don't want to be too focused on this sort of thing, but what how realistic do you think we can do this? I mean, proactive role of the state, and also your reflection generally on the other speakers.
Well, a few points, especially arising from the second round. In a way, it's sort of a sad reflection, because Kun Jirayut talked about not seeing anybody at Davos. When I was Prime Minister, and in fact even before I was Prime Minister, I attended Davos regularly and actually managed to convince the World Economic Forum that when it hosts an East Asia forum, that they should stop going to Singapore and Hong Kong and come to Bangkok, which they did. But then by that time, Kun Yingluck became Prime Minister. And since then, we've just disappeared from that stage. So I think there is need to get the political leadership to attach more importance to forums like this and get ourselves back to where I think we can play a very constructive role. The second thing, I've long been very critical of ASEAN. And I think the biggest weakness ASEAN has, despite all the agreements that we can boast, is that we still have not succeeded in creating a sense of belonging of people to the ASEAN community. You go walk around the streets and ask any member of the public, do they feel they are an ASEAN citizen? I think you'll be very hard pushed to find one that says so. This matters because if you really want ASEAN to be a strong regional grouping, there has to be a core sense of common destiny and maybe also common principles. And even today, every time the UN Assembly vote, ASEAN members are not voting the same way. And ASEAN boasts of this concept of ASEAN centrality, the idea that we can provide that forum for all the superpowers to get together. Because after all, in the East Asia Summit, we have a forum where the US, Russia, China, Japan, India, Australia are present, right? And that's not because we have special powers. I think we're just seen as 10 harmless guys that can provide this very service for the big superpowers to come to the table. And I have to say that if ASEAN wants to regain credibility, the first thing it needs to do is to get to grips with what's happening in Myanmar. And only a united ASEAN can then ask, and I don't know, you may think I'm a dreamer, the US, China, Japan, and India to actually work towards a solution because it's actually in the interest of all these countries. And if ASEAN can do that, it will then go some way to ease the kind of tension that we are seeing, that actually even the US and China can actually work together on some issue. And that sense of belonging is also important because if regionalization is going to be the game, then our individual ASEAN countries should not just focus on competing with each other, but think about having a consolidated supply chain in some key industries where we act as complements rather than competitors. So that's something that, again, is something that I hope somehow there will be leadership from ASEAN leaders to try to push it forward. I guess the last point about the political reality or including your question, you know, it's easy to just sort of fall back and think it cannot be done. But, you know, it's all about political will. Remember the days when actually we wrote into law that the local governments must be allocating 35% of the public resources. That needed political will. It was provided, it was put in law, but then subsequent governments actually amended that law. But it can be done, like all the changes in the bureaucracy. If there's one area that should provide us a bit of hope, is that in Thailand, I think we have a good reputation about our public health system. And with the public health system, you've got a situation where politicians, bureaucrats, experts, doctors, and the public are on the same page. So we could actually move towards universal health coverage, a very progressive scheme with health volunteers, health assembly, and, you know, this is one area where people come from other countries to look at us as a model. So we need that same cooperation between the stakeholders to push this forward. It is possible. And I wish the opposition well in getting the government to focus on the, well, if they've written it in the policy statement on the structural transformation and all the other key things, you just have to make sure that they're not going to be focused in the next 2 years just on the casino and the overlapping area with Cambodia. And also, I think you need to start winning some local elections to prove what changes can happen to local authorities as well.
Thank you, Kapun Abhisit. Now we go to Q&A. You can clap if you want. Now we go to Q&A. I think we have about 25 minutes. The microphone is at the back of the room, so please identify yourself, say what your affiliation are, and please refrain from making a statement. Please stick to question, so others can have time to ask.
Good evening. So you can start with, don't you agree with me that?
Please.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Hervé Lecorne. I'm with World KYC high-tech company. In the future of Thailand, I do see, as you mentioned, healthcare is very important coming from a foreign country and seeing that. But also the quality of food that you're getting from agriculture, good food being medicine, bad food needing medicine. And finally, in the future of Thailand, where you see BRICS, because I see that as a huge market that's opening and Thailand is moving forward.
Any particular panelists you want to answer first, or to all three? Or?
I'd like to add the diverse opinion, like all three would be great.
Anyone want to go first? There's a couple, several things there. Healthcare, BRICS, food security. Up to you. Anyone can go first.
Yeah.
Okay, good man.
Yes, of course. It's, the universal health coverage has, of course, has reduced the spending of households on this health care, for sure. But the quality that we received, if you go to public hospitals, is not that good anyway. And the system's kind of relying on exploitation of the works, of the hard works of the healthcare personnel. They, you know, they work like more than 80 hours per week, which is, you know, violate any laws in the world about the minimum, the maximum hours worked during 1 week. And so there are a lot more to be fixed. And of course, we want to trying to achieve the quality, not just the access to public health care. That's I want to make this point as well. Before we going to to promote the medical hubs, you have to really take care of those healthcare personnel to make sure that they have good welfare before we want some more customers from other countries. But of course, we should reap that benefit that we really have the very good healthcare system to extend it to the medicines and biotechnology. But unfortunately, we haven't really successfully have this industries well established in Thailand. That should be unfortunate, but I think there's still way to go. Just trying to increase the investment in R&D of the biotechnology, just to make sure that it's something that going forward together with the healthcare services and the healthcare industry. And the last question is the BRICS. Yes, of course, we have seen that the government has tried to diversify, to become the member of the BRICS, but it's just very casual cooperation. There's no legally binding of free trade area agreements and anything like that. But of course, to join them, we might have make some bilateral agreements that we can open some other markets from BRICS too. Yes.
Any of you? Up to you guys. Okay, good. Abhisit.
From my point of view, current traditional medicines are not really. We can't really say healthcare, even though Thailand is very good. We should really classify them as sick care, right? Because we have to wait for people to get sick first, and then we cure them. But that's the trend of the past, right? And we need to really, again, not jump into this red ocean competition, because the old industry has officially stopped growing. There's no premium left, right? It's all about price cutting. We need to invest in science and technology revolution, meaning that we truly need to invest in healthcare, not sick care, right? Prevention, right? Longevity, right? Blue ocean stuff, as a nation. So I think Thailand is very strong already in providing sick care, but that won't last very long. We should really invest for the future as well, to invest in longevity, prevention, more. We should put some resources for the future growth, as well as maintaining the sick care industry going forward, right? And for the food, again, food is also broken, right? Food system is very broken. Thailand is very strong for food, but there's no, for example, the soil is very bad. There's no magnesium left, right? Everyone has to take supplements. Again, healthcare, food system, they're both very broken. And it's good to sustain, to try to milk as much money as we can, but it's important to also invest going forward. Things like vertical farming, right? Where we can have plants on steroids, right? We can customize nutrition. We can eat food as medicine, as you said. But the current food system is not really providing that ideology for all of us. So in the short term, Thailand should really maintain what we're good at. We should be the kitchen of the world. We should be providing sick care to the rest of the world. But don't forget to invest in the S-curve part, right? To invest in the blue ocean strategy, to provide healthcare of the future, to invest in vertical farming of the future. As for the BRICS, the collaboration barometer this year, there are many different matrices, right? And the only thing that improved from last year was health collaboration after post COVID. Securities barometer, trust barometer, they are at the lowest point, right? Trust is eroded globally. So we will see this trend of increasing trading partners for every country, including Thailand. We will start trading with countries that we have never traded before to diversify risk, because nobody trusts in each other anymore. Right? The trust is eroded globally. So in Thailand including, and the rest of the world, we will see more trading partners going forward. But I would still need to highlight that the world is moving towards regionalization. We really need to master friendship, relationship, and achieve scale needed as a region. We need to become one ASEAN strong, and we need to have achieved the scale. And from seeing where the world is heading, the trend, most of the global trade would be restricted by distances in the future because of net zero sustainability requirements. We will see a decentralization of supply chain out of China, right? And supply chain will not be centralized in China going forward or anywhere else in the world. We will see a decentralization of manufacturing model, decentralization of supply chain. So distance will come into the equation for the future of global trade. And so the first step is to really master this regional integration as one ASEAN strong. And the second step is to increase trading partners to diversify risk, right, as a country. That's my view to your question.
Okay. Well, I'm going to try and sound younger than these two by being more optimistic in response to your question. I think both the climate change and also demographics will actually force quite a big change in our agricultural sector in food production. I think technology will come in, and there's huge upside gain, if you like, in terms of productivity and sustainability. On healthcare, the size of this country, the biodiversity, the talents that we have, I think we will can make quite significant advances in genomics and move towards precision medicine. My only concern is how we don't spend all our resources on basically tackling issues that will cater to the rich. And that's why I think the foundation that we have in terms of the system of health volunteers, of Thai Health, which is a very progressive way of thinking about preventive healthcare, should provide strong foundation. Applying to join BRICS, I think, is very much motivated by the idea that we have to hedge, because there is this real risk that the geopolitical tensions will continue to disrupt what would be a rational supply chain, as more and more goods will be classified as something related to security, and therefore there's that risk of losing out on both markets and linking up with either upstream or downstream. But it wouldn't surprise me that Thailand will also try to be part of the OECD, and then we'll continue with our balancing act the way we've done over the last, throughout history.
Thank you, Krab. Please, Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic Ford, Nikkei Asia. Kun Abhisit, I was interested by your assertion that what we needed for progress was another constitution. Thailand has had 20 constitutions. Usually, to change a constitution, you need a coup, which will give you a military constitution, and then after much gestation, the revised constitution. So I think we can all assume that Thailand doesn't actually do constitutions very well. It hasn't really got a grip on it since 2032. And some people would argue that what's really needed is institutional reform of the system. Now, 5 years ago, the TDRI did an extensive project called the Guillotine, analysing all the shortcomings in the Thai bureaucracy, in the economy. It could have been implemented by Prayut using Article 44,
Right.
which would have made him probably the most impactful Prime Minister in Thai history, certainly in terms of reforming the economy. It didn't happen because vested interests and people who own large breweries and don't want microbreweries to come into existence were able to stop it. What I would suggest is that that framework and those recommendations still exist. And most of the regulations that they address, the shortcomings in the economy, also still exist. Has anybody considered, instead of looking forward, going backwards and seeing what could have been done 5 years ago?
Yeah, that seems to be addressed to me. You know, I would agree with you were it not for the current constitution. I mean, if we had had either the 1997 or even the 2007 constitution, I would probably agree with you that it would not be a priority. And my response in reaffirming my belief is that you mentioned all the, well, we have the knowledge and the know-how, if you like. We just need to get it done. But it's not done, you mentioned, because of resistance in the political process. And I can't see that resistance going away with the broken system that is provided by the current constitution. And I also feel that if we can get it right, it is a big if, by setting the right process of writing the constitution, it actually provides a rather rare opportunity for a country that has been politically polarized for so long, suffering from generation gaps, to actually provide space where everybody can contribute towards a common vision. So I'm well aware that you know, you don't feel like is it the 21st constitution is needed, but it just so happens that I think the current one does not help create the kind of politics that we talk about today to make these visions attainable.
You want to add something?
Yes, of course. For the second question, maybe, I think it's the regulatory reform or the regulatory guillotine, right? That I kind of follow this project very closely, and they say that they have achieved 100% of this regulatory guillotine since 2022 or 23, around that, just right before the general election. But the way that they executed it is just that there's a list of laws and regulations and licenses need to be cut or reconsidered, whether they are still necessary or not. The way that they do, they send it back to the agency that owns those laws and regulations and ask for their confirmation that whether or not you will remove it or you will continue with some sort of some reasons. The reason that they can achieve 100% achievement on this project is because once they send it back to the agency and the agency said that, yes, we still need this, and they will tick that, oh yeah, we already done this for one law. And then very few, I think less than 20 license and the job procedure that has been removed. So it seems like nothing has happened. And then again, in the previous administration by Kun Setha as a prime minister, he's already setting up another committee. I think it's the fourth one on this regulatory reform to start it over again. But there's nothing different, there's nothing new, so we haven't seen any progress so far. So I will give you an update if there is anything progress.
Please.
Hello, my name is Patrilekha Chatterjee. I am an independent columnist from India and currently living in Bangkok. And it was something which I found I actually explore intersections between South Asia and Southeast Asia. And there was something very interesting, Kun Abhisit, what you said And 2011 was the year when Thailand became an upper middle income country. And I've been coming to Thailand all my life as a tourist. Now I live here, and I've seen the changes since the 90s. Thailand is seen as a poster child of development, or at least was, in countries like mine. What I wanted to know, and which has intrigued many of us who work in development in many countries in the global south, is that, the argument that you can invest in human development, and here I'm specifically focusing on public health, only when you become rich, and the examples of Europe and all, is actually busted by Thailand. Thailand invested in public health and many aspects of human development before it became upper middle income country, long before, and this is seen as very inspirational by many countries still. I want to know two things. This always has intrigued me. How did or why did Thailand do this? I write on development specifically. And the two things is Thailand, despite all its political volatility, has an excellent story to tell when it comes to health, even today. But I get the impression, I may be wrong, I'm new in Thailand, that it doesn't have such a great story to tell when it comes to education. I'm kind of intrigued because in most countries, like in my countries, we have a two-tier. You have first-class education and first-class health, and terrible education and terrible health. And if you're rich, you can have everything. And if you're poor, nothing. So how did Thailand, before it became rich, decide to focus on health, but not so much on education? Usually the two together. Either countries get this combo right, or they don't get it right. So I'm very intrigued. I'm new to Thailand, and I'd love to have your insights and anyone else. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very good question on education. One area we didn't touch upon at all.
True. Well, I'll address the health issue first. And I mean, I could be wrong, but part of the success stems from the way things have evolved actually in the education system. The first thing is our top talents have for so long gone into the health sector, right? And not so talented people going to do other things like politics and okay. Secondly, when the doctors that are bureaucrats can actually stand up to politicians, because if they're actually fired, they actually make more money by going into the private sector. And you see that spirit and strength of the health bureaucrats that you don't see in other bureaucrats. I mean, those would be my two observations why partly the health sector has been able to evolve more successfully than other sectors. Now, in terms of education, I would just dispute a little that we have had a lot of success in terms of providing opportunities, particularly for girls. We must rank quite highly in terms of opportunity for girls in education. Actually, the problem now is boys can't compete with girls in secondary and higher education. But where we fell short was when we came to the issue of quality. And I think that's directly a result of the fact that our system is so centralized and dictated by the education ministry, which simply is too big to affect and respond to changes that are needed to upgrade the quality of the education system. My wish is that actually you have to write a new education law required by the Constitution. And I hope that they do come up with a more progressive system where things are decentralized. And I think we can tap into the contributions of the various stakeholders in society to contribute to education rather than leaving it to the education ministry to dictate and lead.
On top, you want to say something about education?
Sure. I cannot share what happened in 2011. I was a baby back then. But I can talk about the future. Right. As I said earlier about healthcare, Thailand in the short term, we should try to maintain and milk as much money as we can for the sick care industry, but we don't forget to invest for the true healthcare space going forward. Right? For education, I think the world is changing very fast, and we need to upgrade our education system. For example, people live longer, right? And the retirement age is also much further down the line today. In the past, the pre-education side, we used to have 3-4 years of university education, and that used to be enough to equip us with 30 years of work life, right? 30 years of career. But now if we have to work longer for 50 years, because people live longer in general, right? The retirement age is also further down the line. So we need to fix the pre-education part as well. 3 or 4 years of education may no longer be sufficient to prepare us for 50 years of work versus 30 years of work in the past. Second of all, because of the AI, technological advancements, every occupations would be impacted, not just students going into university. 44% of our current skill sets would become obsolete in the next 5 years. And these are people with family, with kids, with salary to maintain, bills to pay. They don't have 5 days a week to devote to traditional university education. Right? They can't go to a physical building to re-educate themselves like students. Right? They don't have all the time. They have responsibilities. So we need to create this open education platform of the future, a more flexible platform, similar to Khan Academy, similar to Coursera, where people can learn at their own pace, people can learn at their own time, and we can have this personalized AI tutor to solve this two sigma problem in education. Right? The reason why Oxford University, Cambridge University is so famous and so popular is that they can afford to have one-to-one tutoring system. Right? And with one-to-one tutoring system, you can move the normal distribution curve 2 times to the right, 2 standard deviation to the right, meaning that an average student, you can have an above exceptional student. Below average student, we can turn them into above average student, right? By having one teacher per one student. But we can't do that without technology. With the arrival of AI, right? We should create an open, like a national open education system for the country, and we should have this personalized AI on this platform to try to solve this 2 sigma problem in education. And also we need to talk about social contract, right? If we live longer, the role of women are changing compared to the previous, world. The role of technology is changing. The remote first culture is coming up, right? In my generation now, people would sit in Phuket, in Chiang Mai, and they would serve 10 companies per day, right? They would charge in nano contract, $5 per contract, $10 per contract, right? How do we solve this provident fund issue? Like which company is gonna pay for provident fund if one employee serves 10 companies at the same time, right? The future of work is changing, future of technology is changing, role of women is changing. So we also need to redefine social contract as well as education system going forward. Thank you.
I want to add a little, just a little bit on the education. What Kuntop has mentioned, we already have this project from the Ministry of Education. It's called Anywhere, Anytime. It's just an online platform in order to solve the problem of the different quality of education in the city and the urban and rural area. But it costs a lot of money to build another platform. Even though we already have like 10 online learning platforms belongs to the government agencies, and that is costlier. It's the content that they try to procure with very, very expensive. So it's something that it's another, and it's again, it's the political will. We have this Minister of Education who used to be a policeman, And we don't really trust what he is gonna bring up for our students. We have passed the period of 10 years that we have 16 ministers of education. So I think political will is something that is really important about education reform. And I remember the last education bill is in 1999, your administration. You're the ministers of
I was a
education.
minister, I wrote the one.
Yeah, he wrote that one. And at that time, everyone is on board. Everyone was, you know, they agreed that we dire need education reform. But still, they failed. So that's why we have to do it again 20 years later right now. So, yeah. And yeah, for the healthcare, it was just like the swift that you can save somebody's lives. But for education, it needs 10 or more years to reap the benefits. So again, the politics is myopic, right?
I know there are other questions. I just want to add one quick point. For me, the biggest challenge for education, not just for Thailand, but the whole world, is that actually the objective of education must change and has changed. You know, those of us who have been here for longer went to school because if we didn't go to school, we can't learn. We would be ignorant. That's no longer true. Now a kid could probably learn something quicker than all of us here. So the objective of education has changed, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge that we face.
Thank you. I'm very mindful of time, so I'm going to allow just I think 3 of you. So 3 more questions, please.
Thank you all of you to provide insights. And I'm Adam, and freelancer for international media in Bangkok. And I have a very specific question. My wife, with a Thai American, and I are now registering a foundation with labor NGOs partners, and because we noticed that I have a lot of international company manager friends complain a lot about Thai working culture, and this foundation mainly they want to want to help to bridge the gap of the expectation and the demands from the international company managers and the Thai workers. Yeah, we have the hotline and the factory visiting to gain the trust and collect feedback. And also, I want to ask for some suggestions. How do you think to run this foundation or this kind of third-party nonprofits well? Because that's also part of the globalization, to make sure the supply chain has no labor issues. Thank you so much.
It's quite a specific question. Anyone want to take a stab at it? I mean, it's don't have to. I mean, we can discuss it later, but perhaps privately. But I guess, yeah.
No,
so
I mean, if I understand correctly, your concern is about work culture. My idea would be, first of all, that we're moving to a situation where work culture is going to have to be very diverse, cater to specific sectors, industries, and specific parts of the supply chain. So one thing is there is no one-size-fits-all model that would work. And the second that I would say is that the most valuable thing you can do is to build trust between the management and labor, because that is the most important thing that will allow people to adapt their behaviors and cultures for the benefit of the organization.
Thank you, Abhisit. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm Kirk Person from SIL Global. And I'm very glad to hear the mention of inclusion and inequality in your presentations this evening. And I'd like to focus a little from these upper region, high level type of discussions to some of the most excluded people in Thailand, which is the ethnic minorities in the far north and the deep south. This has been a topic that many people have talked about for many years, and in fact, for the past 12 years, ethnic minority people have been working with lawmakers on a new draft bill on ethnic identity called the Ran Prarachbanya Kumkrong Net Songsum Witi Chiwit Grum Chatipan. And some elements of that law actually contain elements of the national language policy which, of the Royal Institute, which Prime Minister Abhisit signed about 2010, I believe. But now, after 12 years of work, that law is suddenly running into problems in Parliament. And similarly, Kunjatarong Chai Sang's Committee on Reconciliation on the South also seems to be facing some opposition all of a sudden. So my real question is, why is it so difficult for Thai politicians to embrace Thai citizens of different ethnicities, meaning either not Thai or Thai Chinese, but these different ethnicities? And what can be done to get these important laws through Parliament so that Thailand becomes more inclusive and equitable? Thank you.
Yeah, it is sad as well because, of course, we really pay attention on the ethnic minorities in our party. We have the network called the Ethnic Minorities Network that we can send at least 2 MPs who is from the ethnic minorities group. And it's unfortunate that that bill, that draft, has got I think it's just a hiccup that, a very small disagreement on the terms indigenous people, and that some of the MPs from particular party said that we don't have indigenous people, we only have Thai. So the dispute is going on and on. So they have to withdraw the draft and to find the settlement, the resolution on that, and we will send it back again. So I don't know. It's something that my party has been through for a while. It's a sense of nationalism that it's reoccur from time to time for Thai people, especially when they feel that they're disadvantaged, or they from the others that have taken away something from them. And there are also some who really believes in the nationalist ideology. But so the small steps at a time, I think it's really considered successful that we can make this far, that this draft is about to pass. I think for the next week it will come back and we will pass this law and celebrate that we really promoting and protect the ethnic minority groups.
From top, you want to say something?
Sure. Can I add quickly on the friction that our country is having on this, not just the issue that you mentioned, but also to add more talents into the Thai economy. To be honest with you guys, I've been attending Davos for 3 years, right? I have been offered 3 citizenships already, right? And I'm shocked, right? We are now in this talent war. Right? Everyone is seeking the right talents, right? And education is catching up in every country, not just Thailand. Right? Universities are not able to train graduates with the right skill sets. And the best way to equip our workforce is to really bring in the right talents and learn from each other from work, not from university, right? To bring up the talent bar. And we still have this ancient regulations on 2 million baht, Thai baht per foreign employee, and 4 Thai to 1 foreign employee. Right? These are frictions. It comes to my third and fourth point, right? Open and inclusive. Right? How do we make sure that our ease of doing business is really competitive globally? Everyone is becoming a global citizen, right? And we are competing with the likes of Dubai, free zone, ADGM, WTC, free taxes, golden visa for 10 years. I heard Donald Trump is giving out green cards to, if he wins, to all of the elite schools, graduates, very soon. Look at Elon Musk or Jensen Huang, Nvidia. One company is bigger than all of the companies listed in Germany. Right? Tesla, SpaceX. We need more talents to access our country at a much easier rate. And there's a study, and Thailand is also entering this aging economy, coming to the third point about social contract. Right? Now the working population is really maintaining the old and the young in this country. And there's a study showing that immigrants are actually a net contributor to GDP. And we are the only aging population in ASEAN. And our immigration law, there's still a lot of friction to compete for talents into Thailand. So we need to really lower this nationalism ideology and to make Thailand more competitive on a global scale.
Yeah, well, this is, I think, I should say I'm optimistic for the reason that I think that the new generation is not burdened by the legacy of this concept of Thainess that emerged during the time of conflict in this region. And at that time, even I wasn't born then, but you had leaders that tried to build this concept of Thainess around something that is very Bangkok-centric and therefore marginalize all the ethnic groups. I don't think the new generation has that burden. So I believe that more and more people will be open to the idea that we have to change this concept of Thainess, right? Now on the South, let me say this. I don't want people to characterize the problem as if we were more repressive, particularly of the Muslim community. I would argue that they have more rights to express and live their lives according to their religious beliefs than many European countries are treating their Muslim population. But having said that, my own personal conviction is that the Deep South needs a political solution. The problem is the Thai government has been in talks with whoever they are for over a decade now. But you've never heard the Thai government state exactly what is on offer in terms of that political solution. And there's been no attempt also to bring the rest of the country on board to accept this idea that there needs to be an offer in terms of a political solution. So unless that happens, my fear is the talks will not make much progress.
Thank you, Abhisit. Last question, Miss.
Absolutely for University.
Can you? The microphone is. Can you speak to the
Hello.
microphone?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Sui from Thammasat University. Heard about you say upskill and reskill. My question: how having a government having a process or policy like creating upskill reskill for local level or Thai worker, yeah, and like it relate to new technology like semiconductors, like EV manufacturing, how upskill old labor, and how creating new labor to work in new generation technology. Yeah, my question is like when we graduate, yeah, have we have work like AI gonna replace our job? Yeah, this I want to know how, and want to know about details like a policy or detail like a processing in the government. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a good question to end on, I guess. Anyone want to go first?
Yeah. Tell you a story. I was at Don Mueang Airport buying coffee, and I saw that the person who was selling coffee was speaking fluent Chinese because there's so many Chinese travelers at Don Mueang Airport. So I asked her, where did you learn Chinese? And she said, here. Because she wanted to do the job better. The point is this: imagine had the Pheu Thai party not conceived of this 10,000 baht digital wallet scheme and decided instead that they would give 10,000 baht learning tokens for every Thai, and they can use that token to learn the skills that they want from private sector operators, who then use those tokens and cash in the money from the government. It would have been a much different, and for me, a far, far better policy and better use of money spent.
Well, I have to defend the government on this.
Oh,
Yeah. So they have this particular program called One Family, One Soft Power. So they provide a platform of the e-learning that you can access from Thang Rat application. So you can learn, but only in 11 skills, not including technology or new semiconductors or EV, not that kind of stuff, but cooking, singing, and arts and music, that kind of stuff. And so it's totally free. So we don't need a token. But once the courses are free, so you will see that it's not really interesting or it isn't really useful. You can do something after that. Believe me, I already registered for some courses in that. Yes. It's just a YouTube video that they posted, that they created together. But to make it better, right? We really think that it should be a platform. It's just like what Kutop may have already mentioned, that it should be Coursera and Tinders at the same time. It means that the matchmaking between the employee and the employers. So the employers can post which courses that they want their future employees to enroll. And then once you enroll, your name will be sent to your future employers, for example. So that kind of stuff that we want to create once we become the government. If you can wait, maybe the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I don't buy this defense. Because I think the difference is this. I don't believe in the public sector telling people what courses they should learn. And the scheme that I was alluding to would be something that would be a direct interaction between the private sector, who is in need of these skills anyway, and probably know better than any government-sponsored platform as to how to get those skills to people. So I think, it's fine to have those platforms, but I think that the reskilling and the upskilling that we want to see should not be something directed by the public sector, but something that provides an opportunity for the private sector to get into the act and provide those skills to get the people that they need.
So I agree on this. That's why I didn't say we need an education platform. I said we need an open education platform. Right? So anyone who has the knowledge and the relevant skills can create content, right, in an open manner. Right? So we need an open education platform for the country. To answer your question, going forward, education of the future, there's no red stop towards skills, right? It's more like a continuous learning, lifelong learning going forward. So if I'm the government, I would invest in critical infrastructure for long term. Things like internet connectivity should become public goods, right? Thai citizens should not be paying for internet, right? Digital ID, right, should become public goods. We have to be able to identify ourselves online to enroll on courses, right? And also we need to ask university to stop, to not stop. Content will become less important going forward. Right? We have to equip students with the ability to ask the right questions, not the ability to answer everything, but the ability to ask the right questions. Because going forward, technology will know everything, AI will know everything. We have to be able to ask the right questions, and also to train students based on soft skills and character more than just technical abilities or content. Right? So we need to have this skill taxonomy reform. A new skill taxonomy for this country, and make sure that university education are teaching the right character needed. For example, intellectual humility. Right? We need a lot of this going forward. Right? To have this continuous pursuit of intellectual humility in everyone. That's more important for long-term learning, and invest in critical infrastructure like things like internet connectivity, digital ID, going forward. And also, lastly, very important, an open education platform, right? Which should also become a public good. Anyone with the right content in mind, with the right skill sets, can become a teacher, and there'll be a natural selection happening, just like YouTube. Right? The most useful videos will be on the top. The useless videos will be disappearing based on natural selection. Right? So I would focus on critical infrastructure and not on technical abilities or content, but more on character and soft skills. Redefine skill taxonomy in the future.
Thank you, Top. I'm going to allow one more because there's a member of the press. So please keep this brief, and hopefully it's a good question.
I'm Frank Hanshi from Thai Public Broadcasting Service. For Kun Thap and Kun Sirikanya, maybe, I think, of course, Thailand, maybe the labor force quality is not at that level yet. So Kun Thap, do you think Thailand can become a regional digital currency hub in a way? As in, if this goes to your expertise, as the labor force is prepared or education is already there? Second question to maybe Kun Sirikanya and Kun Abhisit about on the brink of crisis that we talk about in economics, in public health, in educational system. Do you think the government, the administration right now has the capability of spotting it and solving it? Is there any solution from them, do you think?
Okay, maybe Kun Top go first, and then the two politicians at the end.
Sure. So quickly, but I should not really talk about my business.
It's up to you.
But Bitkub is actually now the biggest in ASEAN, right? In what we do, like rarely there are any Thai companies that are biggest in what we do, like that are the biggest in ASEAN, and we are one of the few companies. Right? We are the biggest digital asset company in this ASEAN region. We got to the point that 1 in every 7 people here got our application on their phone, right? 1 out of 7 people in Thailand. And we were the most visited website in the country in 2021, more than Setrade, imagine that, right? And we made more profit than the Thai Stock Exchange. So, you know, Thailand is very active in terms of cryptocurrency activities and transaction. And that is not because we are doing anything right, but because we have a very stable regulation from day one. Right? Thailand was the first to issue a digital asset exchange license in the world in 2018. We have been very clear on the definition of different types of tokens, like Bitcoin, as cryptocurrency. We have investment token as another type. We have utility token as another type. Whereas in the US, they're still debating whether Ethereum is security or not, right? They're still unclear. But Thailand has been very clear from day one. So we benefited from a clear regulation in the past 6 years, and that's why cryptocurrency adoption is great here. But to become a hub, we need to, which may against your point on accepting more taxes, but I would encourage the government to really remove capital gain tax on crypto, because it's not really feasible in reality. People would be just cashing out in Dubai anyways, right? And wire that back into Thailand. And who wants to live in Dubai? It's 50 degrees, right? We have a nice mountain, nice mountains, nice beaches. Everyone wants to live here, but the policy is not competitive enough. Imagine now the $3 trillion of market capitalization of all of the cryptocurrencies combined. That's, I don't know, 6 times of Thailand's GDP of new money. Instead of getting the government into more debt, right, to do this fiscal spending, right, the digital wallet. If we remove capital gains tax on crypto, we will literally see $3 trillion cashing out in Thailand, and it would go through to every corner on the street. Right? It would be monetary stimulus from outside that will not get us into additional deficit. And as I told you earlier about the future of jobs changing, there are a lot of digital nomads, crypto nomads, working in Phuket, in Krabi, in Chiang Mai, and they are receiving in crypto because you can't wire $5 overseas because the cost is already too high, right? Traditional banking cost is too high. It's not feasible. It's not economical. So they can only receive in crypto. And they can't really be a useful member of the society because they can't really spend money here with cryptocurrency, not legalized as crypto as payment, or they have to face taxation before they pay for things. They can't really stimulate the economy with new money entering Thailand. Everyone is cashing out in Dubai. So I think the next step, Thailand is doing really well over the past 6 years. We become one of the most exciting hub, but not the hub yet. Right? To become the hub, we have to remove the capital gain tax going forward. But really, I should not talk about myself.
It's fine. The politic question, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's about the political instability right now that they give it away, the Ministry of Education to the coalition party, and then Pheu Thai party has given away to Phumjai Thai, and they have less and less control on the policies that the minister would implement it and everything. But then, of course, I think Pheu Thai itself has spotted that this is the big things that they need to do something about this educational reform and stuff. But again, they would let Phumjai Thai do whatever they please. So that's a matter. It's a nature of coalition politics. That's too bad.
I agree with you.
All right. Well, on that note, I would like to, on behalf of the FCCT, like to thank all the 3 panelists for speaking this evening. I think it's been quite interesting, and I hope that we can host something like this more often, more think pieces, more vision, broader discussion. I think it's very useful to our members. And for those of you who are not members yet and you like our programs, please join and become our members. So on that note, I Panu Wongchum, the Vice President of the FCCT and Senior Correspondent for Reuters, I would like to thank you all, and please give a big round of applause to our panelists. Thank you.